Hi, everybody. Good afternoon, and welcome to this program of the University of Arkansas Small Business Technology and Development Center. If you don't know about the Small Business Development Center, we are a one-stop shop for startups and existing small businesses. We are associated with the University of Arkansas and affiliated with the SBA and statewide ASBTDC, as well as a national network of more than 1,000 small business centers. Locally, we offer complimentary one-on-one consulting that includes business planning, market analysis, financial projections, as well as a program just like this one covering the relevant topics for business owners. And if you're not already a client, we encourage you to visit us at sbtdc.uark.edu. And again, it is sbtdc.uark.edu. And for any questions that you may have after this webinar, please don't hesitate to email me at ccase@walton.uark.edu. And again, that's just ccase@walton.uark.edu. Well, like I said, we would love to have you guys visit us at sbtdc.uark.edu. We offer all kinds of help with our great consultants, from market analysis to programs like this one, even Excel, any kind of the Microsoft products, just about anything a small business will need. So please don't hesitate to contact us. So our agenda for the day, we're going to first talk about what is leadership. And that's going to lead us very quickly into one of my favorite topics is understanding behaviors. And then I threw in embracing change, because a lot of us are going through that. Our companies are going through that. So I thought that would be a great way to end the session. If you do have questions, I will keep checking back in the Q&A. So just go ahead and post those in there, or I will stay on after the session too. So if you guys have any questions, so please don't hesitate to do that. I'll just hop back there every probably 10, 15 minutes. Okay, so leadership. This is a topic that could go any one of several directions. It is one of the best things you can do for a company, and also one of the worst things. So if you don't understand leadership and you don't understand really the benefits of what that does for the people side of your business, it's going to be key to really kind of take a side look today at what you can do to improve that. The people side of our business is the most important side, and we do need to stop and spend more time there, especially now more than ever. So a leader is, and I want you to think about that for just a second. Maybe just think about 3 words that pop into your head, maybe even 3 characteristics of what you think a leader is. It can be everything from what you think, what you've seen in the past in some of the best leaders, what you're actually doing, or what you are wanting to do in the near future. So think about just kind of 3 characteristics, 3 kind of adjectives you think a great leader would encompass. I'm going to hop back over to you guys and just make sure there's no questions. Okay, great. Just again, if you have any questions, make sure you post them in the Q&A, and I'll just keep hopping back there as much as I possibly can. Okay, so to me, someone who is a leader is someone who has the ability to see something that can be in a better current state. It's somebody that really takes a step back. It's somebody that really takes the time to be a better leader, that does stuff just like this, attending sessions like this, reading as much as you can, talking to other leaders that were your mentor. But I think the one key thing in leadership is it's fluid and it's ever growing. You can't stop working on it. It's not one of those things where you get to be a really good leader and then you can just kind of stop and float through the rest of your leadership years. It is something that has got to be changing every day. So I think, again, that's one of the most important things about this session, is to understand it's something that's fluid. It's something that you should be working on constantly and using kind of different forums in order to work on that. So I love this slide because I kind of put a lot of good adjectives that I have put together that I really think a good leader is. And I want you to think of these and what maybe even pick out 3 to 4 of them that you want to focus on in the next hour when we're talking, kind of thinking about it when we're talking about behavior or even the change. But the first one is clear communication, and that can go in a lot of different directions. But really, communication is communication. You've just got to make sure you're always communicating. The communication has got to change. Not everybody communicates the same way. And another thing you need to remember is we're never not communicating. So please don't forget the body language, the tone of voice, all of those other things that go into clear communication. And then being a good example. This is my favorite one out of all of these, is because if you say to do something and you're not doing it, it's going to backfire on everybody. Let's say maybe you say, okay, there's no drama is tolerated, but then you let a little bit of drama go by. Pretty soon, not only is that person thinking they can do it, but the rest of the people now don't have a lot of respect for that rule. So you've just got to remember, you've got to lead the way. You've got to be a good example, and just be present in everything that you do. And then recognition. Again, when we start to talk about the different behavioral styles, I want you to think about this, because recognition for one might be a little bit different for another. With one group, a simple thank you goes such a long way, where another group really doesn't want to kind of be put on a pedestal or thanked. They just want their work to be complimented. So the behavioral styles really change with the recognition. Inspiration is key right now, along with integrity. Those two things really, I think, go hand in hand, because when you've got integrity and your company and your culture has integrity, it is just an automatic, natural, organic inspiration. Stimulating work, that is a difficult one right now with us all. A lot of us working remote and doing sessions like this via Zoom and via Teams and other options. But there is a way to stimulate individuals and keep them really bought in to what you're doing and to the whole business. And then vision, we'll talk a little bit about that toward the end when we're talking about the change. Focusing on your team, which is going to be focusing on the different behavioral styles, which is something that I'm going to talk about next, which again, I think is key. Not one person is the same, and we've got to remember that when leading. The old way used to be, what I say is what you're going to do, and one shoe fits all, and it's just not like that at all. Leadership is actually harder than it's ever been, but it's really more rewarding too, because you're really kind of hitting all different angles. Support, we'll talk a little bit about that with the change also. And then clear goals. This is something with vision. At the end, I talk a little bit about change, but clear goals and kind of the vision of leadership has changed dramatically, even in the last couple of years. So I'll kind of map that out a little bit for you guys. And then most of all, encouragement. You know, we all need encouragement right now. And it's one of those where if you've kind of stepped out of working together as much and you're working remote, encouragement can come in all kind of forms. Encouragement does not only come from the leader either. So you've got to remember to support the peers around you and to really kind of promote kind of self-appointed leaders that can really help with the encouragement of your entire group. Now, I put this together, and this is something I can send you also. But remember how I said, I think leadership is fluid. You've got to always be working on it. And so I put together this leadership plan. And I would really, really recommend that you always have something that you're working on. So the leadership skill to develop, it might be something as maybe having conflict, a little bit more productive conflict. Maybe conflict is not something you're very comfortable with, something that you really don't enjoy or savor at all. And so maybe it's something to kind of figure out what skill you can help to make that conflict and those conversations a little bit easier. And then reasoning for the developing skill. Usually that comes from a situation or an issue that we've had and we didn't handle it very well. So we think, okay, maybe this is something that we can develop a little bit further. So be self-aware. And when I'm talking about the behavioral styles, we'll kind of try to peg you guys where you're at, but be self-aware of where your successes are, along with maybe stuff that you can work on. Anticipated challenges. There are always going to be anticipated challenges with any skill that we try to develop. Maybe somebody's trying to sabotage it. Maybe we don't have the time or the money. There's a lot of different anticipated challenges. But if we anticipate those, it's going to be a lot easier to tackle than if we don't anticipate those, and those kind of just come out of left field. So That's why I really think you need to think about anticipated changes. And the best saying is they don't come, but the challenges do. And if they do come, that you're prepared for those. And then learning activities to help develop these skills. It could be everything from emailing me and asking for articles and podcasts, attending some more of these sessions, looking for a mentor. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can help achieve your skill set that you're looking for by activities and people around you. And then I'm a big firm believer of timelines. If you don't set a timeline, it's like a SMART goal. You know, if it's not measurable and you can't hit a timeline on it, then you're probably not going to achieve it. So even if you put down that time and you have to bump it back a week, you know, I've done that a million times. It's not a big deal because you've written it down, you've got a new timeline, and you're really kind of focused on that. And then resources needed to help with this skill. And again, that's a place that I can really help. When you guys email me, I've got all kinds of resources, PowerPoints, podcasts, articles, TED Talks, you know, that I could send you. So please take advantage of the resources and the people around you that will supply those. Okay, so I've jumped very quickly into leadership and planning. I'm going to circle back with you guys to see if anybody has any questions. Again, leadership is so key and it's so different for so many people. So I just kind of wanted to give you kind of an overall big picture, kind of a broad paintbrush of what leadership is and kind of how I think you can focus on even getting a little bit better. And then I'm going to give you some ammunition here in just a second of how to do that. But again, leadership is different. You've got to think about what it is for you. Every industry is different. Leadership with different types of teams, different bigger teams versus littler teams. So just remember it's different and not one size fits all. Okay, I want to move on to understanding behavior because this is what I see. I am out in different industries, different companies all over the country every week, and I'm seeing the same thing. I'm seeing that we are having thoughts and we're jumping right to the behaviors. We're not thinking kind of about the middle part of that situation or that relationship. If you're self-aware and if you understand that getting to know that individual, not only yourself and self-awareness, but getting to know that other individual and kind of how they respond, your situation or conversation or even disagreement can be so much more successful if you kind of stop before you behave. I did a presentation not very long ago that was named Pause, because I think if we could all just pause, you know, before we react, before we judge, before we say, we're going to really take into account a lot more. And I'm going to give you a lot of things to think about here in the next few slides of what you can do during that pause to make that even better. So there are a lot of different assessments out there. I'm going to actually send you guys a free link to take just a free assessment. I do the DISC assessment a lot because it's just very simple. It grows and breathes in organizations. And it's a language that people use that's really easy to remember and to utilize. But there's 4 different behavioral styles. Whether you guys do the colors, there's a behavioral assessment for animals. I mean, there's all kinds of them out there. But it always boils down to 4 different behavioral styles. For this one, it's DISC. D is for dominant, I is for influence, S is for steadiness, and C is for conscientiousness, or with the free assessment, compliance is what they call it. Okay, so this is the big picture. There's 4 different behavioral styles. We have a primary behavioral style and sometimes a secondary behavioral style that really jumps out. It usually comes out during stress. So you'll be able to kind of see who those individuals are, especially under stress, stressful situations. But at the end of the day, the D's are about results. The I's are about relationships. The S's are about status quo and teams. And the C's are about accuracy and details. Now, the D's and the I's, they've got a lot in common. They're fast-paced, they're active, they like to make decisions, So if you've got D's and I's that you're leading together, they're going to be fast paced and they're going to want to push you to make decisions. So while we're talking about this, even maybe think of people that you lead, and you can kind of jot down their names if you think, because I'm going to talk a little bit more about this, but who the D's are, the I's and the S's and the C's. You'll probably have some names kind of pop in your head as I'm explaining each behavioral style. So please kind of put a face or a name to a style. I think it's going to really help you remember this. But the D's and the I's, again, active, fast-paced, like to make quick decisions. The C's and the S's are more slower, methodical. They'll sit back and gather data. They're going to think about it. And I'll explain that a little bit more with each one of those behavioral styles. But they are going to be a little bit more thoughtful, calm, and a little bit more methodical. Now, the D's and the C's, if as I'm explaining the D's and the C's, and you are leading a lot of D's and C's, they're data driven. So you've got to provide the data. They're going to provide the data to you. That's what's going to drive them and motivate them. So they're data and results driven. The I's and the S's are people driven. So as you can see, when you kind of plot your team out, you're going to see kind of who's fast paced, who is a little bit more slower paced, who's fast and focused on data, who is fast and focused on people, or maybe slower and focused on data, or slower and focused on people. So it will be one of the best tools you can do if you can map out your team. Now, we are a combination of all four. So even though as I'm talking about each one, you might think, okay, I am definitely an I, you still have some D, C, and S in you. So you're not all just one style. You just more are dominantly, maybe you've got a primary style that kind of stands out a little bit more. So when I do send you this link, think of yourself as a leader. Don't think of yourself at home. Don't think of yourself on a bad day. Think of yourself as a leader, because that's going to really help with kind of mapping this out a little bit for you. This is when you take the assessment, this is the chart that will show you what you are. And so you'll see for this example, A is the dominant. So that red piece is the D. That's what this individual is. And then the B, the kind of the orange piece, is influence. The yellow piece is steadiness. And then the purple piece is compliance. Okay, so this will show you after you take that free assessment, it's going to show you kind of the big chunk of what you are. And for this example, I can see that they've got a lot of dominance in them and they have very, very little compliance in them. So if this is you as a leader, you're going to want to make sure that you surround yourself with people that are data driven, Excel spreadsheet driven, detail driven, a lot of accuracy driven individuals. Okay, so this map will really kind of point out the individuals that you need to hire and surround yourself with. Okay, before we start with the D's and I start explaining them, I'm going to come back over and see if you guys have any questions. And yes, I am going to send that leadership test to you guys, and either Julie will, because she sets up the registrations, or I'll ask if I can get you guys' emails from her and get that sent to you. There is also a more extensive one. I would first take the free one and get all the information you can from that one. But there is a more extensive one that I can offer too. It does cost a little bit of money, but it's well worth it. But I wouldn't do that until I take the free one, because you might get all the answers that you need to from that free assessment. And then again, after you do take that assessment, if you want to hop on a call with me and talk about your assessment, I would love to do that and kind of talk it through as a leader, you know, what that looks like for you. Okay, so back to the D's. Let's talk about this one just for a second. Think about the D's that you lead. They're going to be pretty easy to remember, okay? They're about winning. I mean, if you guys are going to play bags on a Friday afternoon, they're going to want to win that. If you've got some kind of a contest going on inside your office, they're going to want to win that. So the D's are, remember, at the end of the day, they're results driven. So the result is for them, let's win and get this done. So think about these D's again. Jot down a couple names of people that you lead. Remember, they're fast paced. They like a lot going on. They are focused on results and the data. They love to multitask. The more you can kind of land and pile on them, the better. They will come across as confident, especially if they know what they're doing and they like what they're doing. They're going to be very confident in that. They're ones that are going to make fast decisions. And so if you're leading them, you've got to be prepared for that. They will also bring you solutions. So D's are big on making decisions, solving problems, and bringing solutions. So that is a really great benefit. They are big picture people. They're not going to get messed up in the details and the little things. They're going to go for the big wins. Now, under stress, they can come across as a little bit more impatient, a little bit more short, especially with maybe their emails or their text messages. You know, they're just kind of quick anyway, and they answer questions. If you get an email from them, it's not going to be a touchy-feely email. It's going to be, I took care of this. This is what I need to do next. Is that a go? So it's going to be very to the point. When they are stressed, their emails or their texts will become even shorter. If you are a D leader, you have got to remember that, because you're going to cause more trouble by doing that than explaining a little bit more. So the short, quick answers as a leader are probably not the most beneficial, because you're going to be cleaning up more in the end, especially when we misread texts and emails as it is. If it's short with a simple yes, you're going to have people kind of struggling with the other behavioral styles, wondering, are you mad at them? Did they do something wrong? So just as a D leader, the best thing you can do is add a little people or softness to your leadership. And it doesn't need to be anything crazy. It can be just something, yes, comma, hope you have a great weekend. So it can be something that simple. Okay. So I'm hoping you're thinking about 3 Ds that you lead. They're fast paced. They like making decisions. They like results. They like heading projects. They're going to be one of the ones that are going to always offer to lead a project. And they're going to be focused on getting it done at the end of the day. That's where they will get in trouble, is because by getting it done and getting to the results, they sometimes will step on toes without even knowing that they're doing it. They're not meaning to, they're just not focused on that. They're focused on the end win, the end goal. Now the I's, they're going to be easy too. So think about 3 I's. This group are, again, they're very fast paced. They like a lot going on, but they are people. So they are creating great relationships. They're going to know something about just about everybody. So you've got to remember, they are happy, and they just make people around them happy. At the end of the day, remember, they are all about relationships. So if a relationship is a little kind of stressed throughout the day, that's going to really bother them, and they're going to take that home. They love keeping great relationships, keeping everybody happy and everybody connected. They're very optimistic and positive, and they will jump on anything. If you ask them to do just about any task, they're going to be the first ones to say, I can do it. Now, I's, you've got to remember, because you're pleasers, you will take on a lot that maybe you can't get done, and you'll lose credibility, which will lead to relationship problems. And so credibility and relationships are huge for you. My advice always to an I, because they do say yes quickly, is the 24-hour rule. So if you're asked to be the president of PTA tomorrow, please listen to me when I say don't answer them for 24 hours, or maybe since it's a Friday, don't give them an answer until Monday. You know, not that being a PTA president wouldn't be amazing, but it might not be the year for you to do it, because you've got 15 big projects coming down the pipe. So again, hesitate just for a little bit when answering, and then get back to them. You guys are very good at inspiring and uplifting, motivating. You're going to be the group of people that if it gets stressful, you'll crack the jokes. You'll try to make everybody happy. It's just who you are. I think you, before any assessment was ever created, the I's understood how important it was for relationships. And again, as leaders, if you're a leader and you're an I, you're going to be creating some really good relationships around you. But don't rehire yourself. That's what a lot of I's make the mistake as a leader. You'll interview somebody and you will like them because they're bubbly and they're a go-getter and they remind you so much of yourself. You're going to absolutely have to have the other 3 behavioral styles that make a team, make a really successful team around you. So even though you can hire I's, if you're an I leader, don't hire a whole team of I's. Okay. great at entertaining, networking. These are the people that you send to the chamber events. They are just great at really promoting you and your business. And one of the things about the eyes, remember how I said when I was talking about thanking people, the eyes are the group to think. They do not want to be ignored. They don't want to be pushed aside. If you just think the eyes, that is huge. So for those 3 individuals that you're thinking about, just think about if they do something out of the ordinary. Maybe they've stayed until 8 o'clock last night. Thanking them will go so far with this group of individuals. So those are the I's. Then you've got the S's, the stability. And this is the group of people that just want to come to work. They want to get the job done and they want to go home. They don't like the drama. So it just is just status quo is what's huge for this group of people. They are loyal. They are dependable. You can count on them. They will make slow decisions. So those 3 names will probably pop in your head when I say they make slow decisions, because what they do is they take everything into account. So if you have an individual, you're like, okay, this person can never make a decision on the spot. They won't, unless you force them, and they're not going to be happy with that, because they're going to think about the whole team. They're going to think about how it's going to affect everybody, even themselves outside of work. They're going to think about what's happened in the past. Is this going to be something that we're replicating and we shouldn't be, or are we replicating it in a good way? They think about everything. So with the S's that you are leading, give them the time and the space to make decisions, because they will make really good decisions. And it won't be about themselves. It'll be about the team and the company. They are constant, excuse me, they're predictable. They're the ones, again, you can count on. They are going to look after the team more than themselves. So you've got to remember that when you put S's on a team or on a task. They are motivated by status quo and absolutely no drama. So they're not going to add drama, but they don't want drama either. So they're going to be the ones that are going to kind of just shut it down by just not adding too much to that. They are really good at handling people, excited situations, because they've got a calm demeanor about them. So again, think about those 3 names. There are people that are calm, they're loyal, they're dedicated. You're not going to get a lot of backstabbing or drama from them. They're just going to want to come to work, and they're going to want to go home. They want to get their work done, and they'll get it done right, but they just don't want all the extra stuff that is unnecessary. Okay. Now, the last group, the compliance or the conscientious, this group is all about details. Okay. You're going to know who this group of people are. They would rather do the work themselves than have you do it incorrectly. They are black and white, rules and regulations, right and wrong. They're just the individuals that at the end of the day, they're going to make sure the details are taken care of, and they're going to make sure those details are taken care of accurately. If you send this group an Excel spreadsheet and you've got 3 formulas that are not right, you will lose instant credibility with them. The deal with this group, though, is they're harder on themselves than they are on anybody else. So, when they come to you and they're kind of getting onto you because of a misspelled word or an incorrect formula, believe me, they're not doing it to just kind of put you on the spot or make you feel bad. They will do that to themselves over and over again. It's just what they're made of. They're just all about accuracy and details. They will be diplomatic. They might come across as a little aloof, because if you're going to have maybe a pot roast or some kind of an event on a Friday afternoon, they might come fill up their plate and then they might go back to their desk. Because again, at the end of the day, this group is all about details and getting the job done and getting it done right. Okay. They're great at working by themselves. So again, if you're leading people, and think about those 3 names, these are people that they don't mind working on a team, but they'd really rather work by themselves. So make sure that you give them tasks that are going to be a lot of research, statistics, data. They will thrive under that situation. If you are a C leader, you've got to remember that not the other 3 groups are going to think like you do. You're very analytical. So out of all 4 of the behavioral styles, your kind of way of thinking is different than the other 3. You are focused on the end goal, the details, the data, and getting it done right. So you're going to be just a little bit different when you lead. You've got to remember the people skill part is going to be really, really critical for you guys, because you can really get your head down and focused on something and not look up. You've got those blinders on sometimes. So the C's, again, great group of people. You have to have them on every team because they're the ones that will hold your feet to the fire. I think the biggest thing about the C's that they get a hard rap for is they will ask why. So again, think about those three names. Who are the people that you work with, you lead, that ask why a lot? Those are probably going to have a couple names that come to your mind, but they ask why because they need to understand it. They're not being difficult. They want all the I's dotted and the T's crossed, and they're going to make sure they understand it before they go off and start doing a task. So let them ask the why, explain the why. Please don't be a leader that says, well, I shouldn't have to explain why. I told you what to do. You need to do it, because they will do it, but they will really do it really great if you explain why. So again, that old leadership style is just not cutting it these days. You've got to adjust your leadership style based on the 4 different behaviors. Now, a couple slides that I can share with you too that I think are really beneficial, this communicating and conflict. I just kind of boiled it down to really 3 bullet points. When you're leading these groups of people, if you can just remember these 3 things, you will be a very credible leader, a very valuable leader, and they will listen to you. So the D's, they want you to be professional, efficient, and offer solutions. So again, if you are leading a D or if you are a D, either way, solutions is the name of the game with the D's. The I's, they want more of a friendly atmosphere. They want you to take time and they want you to listen. They're about relationships. So they're going to want you to ask, how was your weekend? Now, again, you don't have to get into the details, or hope you had a good weekend. You could even do something like that, but they want a personal level of working environment, and especially coming from their leaders. And then the steadiness, be sincere, be honest, and be personable. This group, no matter if it's a good change or even a great change, they want a heads up. They're not going to be the group of people that are like, okay, I'm just going to roll with the changes, whatever email is sent out or whatever notice comes our way. This group needs a heads up. And remember when I said this group is the loyal, dedicated individuals, they're usually the ones that have worked there a long time and have a lot of credibility because they haven't added to the drama. And they're usually ones that know what's going on because they're the quiet ones. They're sitting in the back taking in all the information. You don't want this group upset if you're going to make a change. You want them on board right away. So it does not hurt. You don't need to tell them exactly what the change is. Maybe you're rolling out a great new nursing cart at one of the hospitals. You don't need to tell them what the nursing cart looks like, or even that it's a nursing cart, that you're going to be rolling out a new product that's going to make every floor of the hospital a much greater, easier place to work. So, just so they know a change is coming is enough for them. And then the C's, be prepared, be factual, and be professional. They want the facts. And again, as a leader, let them ask the why. It's okay. A lot of times when they ask the why, they might be answering questions that you didn't even think about, or maybe even hurdles or obstacles that are going to come down the path that maybe you didn't think about. So keep that in mind with the S's, because they will ask why. And then remember, I said under pressure, when they are stressed is when you're going to really be able to see which style they are. If you're kind of, not sure on the style of a couple individuals, the D's will come across as a little bit more forceful. You'll see that they pick up their speech. It's a little bit more direct, maybe a little bit louder, but you will know when the D's are under stress. The I's will become a little bit more emotional because, again, stress a lot of times involves people, and they're all about people and relationships. So they will get emotional under stress. The S's, you can see it immediately. They withdraw. They will not, in meetings, they will definitely not speak up. They won't attend things. If they're under stress, they're going to kind of just go inside themselves and try to figure it out. And then the C's are going to be critical. That's going to be their main thing, is they're going to be very critical of what you're doing and what you're saying. And so the minute they're speaking up in meetings and really kind of going head to head with you, you can tell that they're under some stress. So with all four styles, I mean, taking care of it outside of the meetings is the best way to do it. We all know that, but it's how you take advantage of that time outside of a meeting if they're stressed. You've got to make sure with the C's, you're focused on the actual work. Or if you're implementing a new software program, explain to them what's going to happen, why it's advantageous to do that, why you thought about doing it, maybe even some examples at other places that you've worked or other teams that you've led, how it's really beneficial. Okay, so under stress, these four will pretty much jump out at you a little bit easier than if everything is just calm at work. Okay, I'm going to come back to you guys and see if there are any questions. Again, there's 4 different behavioral styles. I'm waiting for questions here, so if you want to pop some up, but there's 4 different behavioral styles. There's no right or wrong behavioral style. I get a lot of questions of, I'm getting ready to hire a new sales VP. What behavioral style should I look for? And again, it does help, because if it's maybe like customer service, I's are great. I's and S's are great at customer service. If it's something that's going to be maybe a position, an accounting, a financial position, C's are great at that. D's are great at leading teams. They're great at getting things done. So maybe it's a task or a position that's going to be on a lot of deadlines. A D will thrive under that situation. So it's not going to bother them to be under constant deadlines as much as it might the other 3 behavioral styles. So there are different positions and stuff that play a little bit more beneficially toward a behavioral group, but that's not set in stone either. So if you're ever looking at hiring somebody and you're thinking, okay, Chris, here's my team. I've got so much of each one of these individuals. Where should I fill in the void? A lot of times I can definitely help with that, with where the void is on your team, and maybe something that you can do to help build a better team. Okay, with embracing change, I added this at the end because it is something that we are all going through. We've got people working remote. We've got people that don't want to come back into the office. We've got now to do different meetings via Zoom instead of everybody having an all hands meeting, at the office. So change is here. It's not going to go away, and you've just got to be able to flow with it. Remember the 4 behavioral styles. The D's thrive under change. The I's don't mind it, but they want to make sure that the people on their team are okay. The C's are okay with change if you explain it to them and it makes sense. But the S's are the key people. Don't make changes just to make changes. You've got to make sure that you give the S's a heads up and you explain why you're doing what you're doing, because they're going to be, again, very beneficial. So believe it or not, the pace of change today is slower than it will ever be. Change picks up every hour. So back in the 80s, maybe if you were a leader back in the 80s, change was so much slower than what it is now. But with technology and everything, artificial intelligence, everything that's going on, it's picking up. Everything about your business is probably picking up. Here's an example. So back in 2018, just 2018, not very many years ago, per day, this is what the statistics were: 16 million ride shares, 3 million Amazon packages delivered, and 400,000 food orders, like maybe DoorDash, Grubhub. Okay, that's per day. That's a lot. That's a lot. But in 2026, just a couple of years from now, that's going to be per minute. So 15 million ride shares, 1 million robo-taxis, 3 million packages delivered a minute, and then 400,000 food orders. So think about your business. Think about what you did. If you're a restaurant, maybe what happened in 2018, it's going to pick up, especially if you make the right choices and really thrive to grow. In 2016, it's going to be a no-brainer. The growth of everything will be astronomical. So I wanted to show you that because per day and per minute is a big, big change. Now, earlier when I was talking about goals, I remember, I did this just probably 5 years ago. I helped a company with strategic planning, and it was the short-term goals were 1 to 2 years. The mid-range were 3 to 5, and the long-term were 5 to 10. That's just how it was. We kind of planned it out that way. If you're still doing that, it is not going to be beneficial. You've got to make sure you pick it up. So today, short-term range goals are immediate. It might be something that needs to be accomplished today, within the month. It's something immediately that needs to be accomplished that's on your plate. A software program that's going to be implemented. That's going to be immediately because it's going to start to be implemented or installed tomorrow or next week. Mid-range is 3 to 6 months. And look at long range, 2 years max. Now, again, depending on your business, after that, you might have a 5-year, but you've got to really pick up the planning and the vision and the goals that you're setting for your company. The main thing here is to know that we all are on kind of a fast track now, and you've got to make sure you're one of those that are in that. Because if you're a leader that is like, okay, I don't believe it, I'm going to stay with the old way of doing things, my business is a little bit different. I just want you to think that through a little bit more. It might be, your business better than anybody, but what I see around the country, I see every size business from a mom and pop shop to multi-million, billion-dollar companies. They're all, the way of they're changing is they're all kind of changing toward picking up the speed of goals. Again, that's something I'll make sure I give you guys my email address at the end. That's something I can help you with. We've got a large group of consultants that can definitely help you with that. So let us help you, because it's going to be something that we can kind of take a look at what you did before, where you want to go, and kind of map it out a little bit more. So the skill sets, this is, I could give you a million, but these are the ones that I really want you to kind of think about moving forward as a leader. You've got to move faster than ever before. And that might not be, crazy fast, but just think a little bit differently when you're thinking out what you want to do for your goals. You've got to make sure that you stay flexible, never more than today. We've all seen that, I don't think we ever thought that we'd have the majority of the workforce wanting to work from home and having to deal with doing the remote, and people are thriving under that situation. Some companies want their people back in, it's up to your company, but you've got to be flexible either way that you go there. Be out in front of future change, know what's coming. Again, you've got to think about the goals. You've got to strategize and map things out. Help your team into what's coming and to adapt to change. There are a couple companies I am working with right now that are living in that middle zone. So there's a change model called the William Bridges model, and he's got 3 different emotional kind of phases, if you will. The ending zone, which people are kind of hating the change. They're scared, they're depressed. The neutral zone, where you're kind of living in the uncertainty. And then the new beginning, which is the change has been made. Now we're getting used to it and things are getting better. I have companies that are on purpose living in the neutral zone. They are getting their workforce and their kind of brains wrapped around changes here. You've got to be able to adapt. We're going to live in the neutral zone. Yes, maybe sometimes it's going to be hectic and you're going to be doing 2 jobs at once, or you're going to be in 2 different softwares at one time. But companies are really starting to embrace living in that neutral zone, and they're training their employees how to do that. It's very acceptable. These companies are very, very successful, but you've got to make sure that you hire the right people that can thrive in that, because in that area, and again, I can explain this to you offline, but in that neutral zone, there's a lot of uncertainty, and it's kind of one of the hardest phases to live in, because a lot of people feel overworked. They've got a lot of extra stuff going on. Maybe again, they're working remote and they don't feel as connected. There's so many different things that can fold into that. And then continually revisit and revise plans to be relevant. like I said before, being a leader has never been harder, but it's never been more great in all the years. You just have to feel like you've got to be a step ahead. I mean, think about what's coming. Try to think around the corner. Again, if you're a restaurant, talk to other restaurants. If you're a packaging company, talk to other packaging companies. I mean, there are a lot of people out there that want to share what they're doing and help you, even if you're a competitor in a way, maybe not directly, maybe indirectly, but talk to people, attend events like this, reach out to our consultants. They're really kind of they know what's to come, and they're always thinking about the future. So that is very helpful too. Okay, I'm going to come back to questions. I know that I covered a lot. I know that I went from leadership to behavior to change, but being a leader, and especially if you're a leader of a smaller business, you own the business. I just want you to know that you've just got to make sure that you use the resources around you and keep growing. Once a great leader is not always a great leader. That's why you've got to make sure that you revisit and revise and strategize all the time, because it's just so key for you to always kind of be on the cutting edge of being the best leader that you can be. Okay, I've got a question here. What's the best way to implement into our staff meetings to educate our team? One of the things, I think fun is the best way to do it. I mean, I have a lot of companies that just do little like Friday meetings and talk about what's to come. I love transparent leaders. And again, it's not something that I want you to say, okay, I want our company, this is going to be our return on investment, our EBITDA number. I mean, I'm not saying stuff like that, but have them be invested, have them be part of the decision making. And maybe it's once a month potluck or something like that, where everybody starts to talk a little bit about it. But what I'm really seeing across the country is the more informal it is, the more comfortable people are. I am a firm believer, if for some reason you've got remote workers from all over the country that are working for you, to bring them in once a quarter. If it's a local company, you know, try to make sure you touch base with them as much as you can. We kind of, for 2 years, stopped creating relationships, and we all kind of hunkered down to ourselves. And there's some people out there that are having a hard time recreating those relationships. If you're a business that relationships are important to you and you are spending time on that, creating relationships, you're going to be a successful business. Okay, so I hope I helped with that question. Okay, so let me just tell you again, you guys, please reach out to me. My email address is ccase@walton.uark.edu. Julie, also, if you reach out to her, she will make sure that we get in contact. I would love to talk to you guys after you take the free behavioral assessment. I'll ask Julie to send that out, or I'll get your emails and get that sent out to you. But take the free assessment, really think about it. I think the most important part is to be self-aware. Look at yourself. Like, if you land in the D quadrant, what can you do to be a better leader? The I, the same, S, and C. So I would definitely recommend you do that. Again, reach out to me. I can send you any of these slides that you want or any ideas. Keep in contact, because I love to help you guys even down the road with anything that you guys are doing. And like I said, again, we've got a whole group of consultants that are phenomenal, that will help with anything that you guys need. But don't forget to visit us at sbtdc.uark.edu. And also don't forget that we are on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We're all over there, so you can make sure that to reach out to us and ask questions that way too. But please, this is a resource. That's one of the things I was talking about with being a great leader, is utilizing and taking advantage of your resources, and we are one. So make sure that you do that. I'm going to stay on here for just a couple more minutes, but if you guys are good to go, don't have any other questions, you are free to enjoy the rest of your afternoon. But if not, I'll stay on here for a couple minutes and see if you guys have any other questions. And again, I know I've already said it, but my email is ccase@walton.uark.edu. leadership.uark.edu. Please reach out. As you can tell, I love to talk. Okay, guys. Thank you very, very much. And again, I hope to hear from you all, and be the best leaders you can be. You're really impacting other people and have an impact on people that you are leading. So please be the best leader that you can be. Have a great day.